What's up, guys? Welcome back to Just Nuts. John here today talking about another beloved archetype in the Yu-Gi-Oh community, which is TELLARKNIGHts. Definitely, probably, I don't know, across the board is like one of the, it feels like just most loved decks by a lot of players. So if you don't know anything about this deck, it's a very, very linear deck. It's not my favorite deck personally because I don't really tend to like linear decks, but the artwork is insanely cool. I could definitely see myself playing this just because the artwork is so cool, and they do have some really, really cool things they can do. The deck is just so linear, and you'll see as I read the effects like how linear it is. But they're very cool, and it's just a cool warrior deck that can erase boards very, very easily. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested, definitely check these out. But yeah, I'm just going to go through all the cards as I usually do for these videos. Just go through all the cards, talk about what they do, and yeah, just do a general overview of what the deck does. So first here is pretty much the main monster, your main playmaker here, which is TELLARKNIGHT Altair. If you don't know, all of them have effects that activate on normal or special summon, just summon and period. I guess it could be flip summon as well. So on summon they activate. They're all hard once per turn, so keep that in mind as you're playing. You can't keep looping them. But Altair says when he's summoned, you can target a TELLARKNIGHT in your graveyard and special summon in defense mode. But monsters you control cannot attack for the rest of the turn except for TELLARKNIGHts. Restrictions. Defense mode, only TELLARKNIGHts can attack. So pretty much he's there to set up a rank 4 play. So, but really, really just good plus card. Then TELLARKNIGHT Deneb, this is your searcher for the deck. When this card is summoned, add any TELLARKNIGHT monster from your deck straight to your hand. You can only use this effect once per turn. Great. Just a basic searcher. So like, obviously you can see combos, or if you can get Deneb in grave, you normal Altair, special Deneb adds another one from hand. So you're just, you see how the linearness of this deck works. Then we have Unical High, one of my personal favorites. When this card's summoned, you can send a TELLARKNIGHT card from your deck straight to the graveyard. Is it all making sense how linear the deck is? Unical High sends something to grave. You could send like Deneb, then next turn you summon Altair, then you special Deneb, then you add with Deneb. Like, they're all like very, they flow very well together, and a lot of the combos are very the same. Then TELLARKNIGHT Vega. This is the last of like the good ones, I'd say. At least the engine ones. So Vega says when it's summoned, you can special summon one TELLARKNIGHT monster from your hand. Hard once per turn, obviously. One thing that irks me about Vega is it's really small. It's 1200, 1600, whereas like Unical High, we're going to 18. Deneb's pretty small too, but it's your searcher, so you're not going to complain about your searcher. And Altair's 17, so Altair's fine. Unical High is solid. But Vega is like meh stats wise. I mean, you're ranking most of them off anyway, making XC's plays, but still, you know, it should have come down to it. If you just need to summon a bunch of monsters and beat your opponent down, it's kind of hard when your monsters are 1200 and 1500. But whatever. So as you can see, these are the 4 main ones. Altair and Deneb are like almost always like easy 3-ofs. I've seen people play either 2 or 3 Unical High, depends on how much you want to see it and like what the kind of build you're playing with. And Vega, I've seen Vega range from none to 3, depending on what you're really trying to do. Because if you open Vega with another TELLARKNIGHT that's not Altair, it's pretty solid, because like if it's you open Vega Deneb, you normal Vega, special Deneb adds, and you can already make a rank 4. Usually it's tough to make a rank 4 turn 1. You usually have to just like normal summon and then set back row and then pass, and hopefully your back row is enough to stun your opponent so that next turn you can really pop off and beat them down from there. But depending on the build, Vega can get things going a little faster, which is decent, you know. I don't know, up to you. Then we have TELLARKNIGHT Alsam. So we have 3. So those are the 4 good ones. These are like the 3 like meh ones that are you could play. It's your personal preference. So we have Sirius here, Rigel here, and Alsam. Alsam's probably the best one. He says on summon, inflict 1000 damage. Hard one's return, but it adds up. Like if just turn after turn you keep altering all some back and just thousand, it builds up, especially with like your main strategy. You'll see when we get to the extra deck what the main strategy really is. And I think he's interesting. Sometimes the deck has trouble getting damage out. You can wipe a board, but you can't have damage, and you'll see why later. But so this can definitely help with just kind of rack up that damage. Rigel's almost pretty much just there to make big monsters. When he's summoned, you can target a Tellarknight and it gains 500, but send it to the graveyard during the end phase. Not a big deal. He's only really useful for like maybe boosting himself up to 24 to get over something specific, and then you make him into an Xyz monster anyway. So it's not too big of a deal. So you don't have to worry about sending it to grave. But for like one attack, maybe you're getting him over something. You know, and then Sirius. Sirius is interesting. When he's summoned, you can target 5 Tellarknight monsters in grave, shuffle them all back into the deck, and then draw 1 card. Nothing crazier. If those draw 2 cards, I might be interested. Because it's only draw 1, it's super meh. I wouldn't play it. I feel like you're losing so much because part of this deck, what slows this deck down is needing to set up your grave. So shuffling the whole grave you just set up back just to draw 1 card, it's not even 2. If it was 2, then maybe I'd be interested. But because it's only draw 1, super underwhelming. Then I just put this here because I was like, they're all lights. Well, you can play honest if you want to. Because of Altair's effect, saying like you can't attack with any monsters except for Tellarknights for the rest of the turn when you use his effect. Like you're kind of limited in the monsters you can use here. But honest effect is in hand. You aren't worried about summoning him. So that's something that's interesting. Spicy tech, if anything. Just wanted to throw it in there. Then, as far as like the only real Tellarknight like good spell card is a Tellarknight Skybridge. So this pretty much shuffles a Tellarknight on your field back into the deck, and then you can just special summon another one from the deck. But you cannot special summon monsters except for Tellarknights while the one you summoned is on the field. So not a big deal. Most of the time, this card's actually like a decent engine card. It's just like you can like normal Unical High to send something to grave, and then you activate Skybridge to like Unical High, send Deneb, then you activate Skybridge, shuffle Unical High back for Altair. Altair will special Deneb from grave, and Deneb will give you a search for like a follow-up play next turn. So you've got a follow-up play for next turn. You've got 2 monsters on board, which you can make a rank 4 right then and there, and I think it's an alright card. It could definitely be better should they get like a Link monster or something else, but as for right now, it's like okay. It's a decent engine card, helps speed up the deck at least, but it is a generic. It is generally just a negative card. You're just negging, so that's not the best, but whatevs. Then Monster Reborn, pretty staple in this deck. Like everything, all the monsters activate on summon, so Monster Reborn, really good, just solid card in here. Better than in other decks, has a little more value. Then we have Rhoda. They're all warriors, so Rhoda, get the Neb going turn 1, get whatever you want turn 1 started. The best trap card in the deck is Stellar Nova Alpha. This is a counter trap, and it pretty much just says when a spell, trap, or monster effect is activated, so literally any effect is activated, send a Tellarknight you control to the grave, negate the activation, and if you do, draw 1 card. I really like that draw 1 card effect, like because we've seen cards like this where you have to tribute. We've seen like Icarus Attack, where you tribute a winged beast to pop 2 cards. Like we've seen cards where you have to tribute stuff or send stuff to grave that's yours, but you don't get it back, and at least you get something back. Obviously, it slows you down because the deck is very normal summon dependent, but at least you're getting something back. Maybe you draw into more traps, another Call of the Haunted, maybe you draw into any of your stun cards, one of your solemns, maybe just another monster. Who knows? But it is something. You're not just losing. It is technically a -1 still, or a 1-for-1, I should say. So, I think it's a solid just stun card. Nice negate anything there. And then so you'll see this right now, but you want to play, you'll see this in a minute, but you want to play continuous trap cards in this deck. And you'll see in a little bit, but just keep that in mind. I'll let you know soon. But for right now, I feel like one of the best like stun cards, continuous trap-wise, is Fiendish Chain. Target effect monster field negates effects, and it cannot attack. just a nice stun card. The only thing that like limits this is obviously links. If they already set up a board enough, negating something isn't going to do much if they can just link it away. But at least if you hit the right stuff, it can be huge. You know, if you hit like Ice Sold or Firewall, those are cards that are going to not let them FTK or extra link. You know what I mean? So if you have the right stuff, it can be really good. But it's not always amazing. But it's continuous, and that's what's important. Then we have Call the Haunted. This is like one of the best cards in the deck because of the strategy. It just specials a monster from grave, and it equips to it, essentially. Doesn't actually equip to it, but it's like linked to the monster, and it stays up on the field as long as that monster's there. Goes in matches is like, it's just better than Rivalry. Like, you could play Rivalry if you want to. You pretty much mostly just play Warriors, light Warriors, so you could play both if you wanted to, but Rivalry is just not as good against the rest of the meta right now. Depending on when you see this, if the meta has changed and Rivalry is still good, then you can play Rivalry. But Goes is the best one right now, just a solid Floodgate. And other Floodgates work too, you know, Anti-Spell Fragrance, Imperial Order, Skill Drain. I don't recommend Skill Drain personally, but anything else I can think of? Any really good Floodgates? I guess Mistake, but you also add in your deck, so be careful how you use any of those because they can all hurt you. So just be careful the way you use them. Oasis of Dragon Soul is pretty much another Call of the Haunted, essentially. It's just if you wanted to play more copies. And then we move to the extra deck. So this card is the reason the deck can play. If this card doesn't exist, the deck doesn't exist, period. Trevere says on summon, hold on. Oh, there we go. If this card is XYZ summoned, return all other cards on the field to the hand. There you go. That's the entire reason you play a bunch of continuous traps, so you can activate them to stun your opponent, and then you just resolve Trevere, and you return everything to hand. You get all your traps back to stun even more, and your opponent, if they just put all their resources into extra deck monsters, they don't get anything back. It all goes back to their extra deck, and they just lost a ton of advantage. There we go. You can't summon any monster the turn you XC summon him except for Tellarknights, so obviously it should be restricted. A card this powerful has to be restricted. It just has to be. And then once per turn, you can detach a material from this card, send one random card from your opponent's hand to the graveyard. Nice little extra something. And then if this card with an XYZ material is sent to the graveyard, you can target a Tellarknight monster in grave and special summon it. That could be really relevant should we get a link monster, because if you were able to link him away for the link monster, you would just special something back. But we'll see where they go. This would be, I think, this is a really good candidate to get a link monster. But you know, we'll see. Konami and whatnot. Who knows what they're thinking? Then we have Batlamias, which takes 2 Tellarknights. So the problem with Trevere is he takes 3 Tellarknights, and that was the problem for a while. But then they came out with Batlamias as support for the deck, and Batlamias can rank up into Trevere, but Batlamias only takes 2 materials. So you only need 2 Tellarknights to get to Trevere using Batlamias, which is really nice. Just helps speed up things and make your power play much easier. The other effects aren't really that relevant. I'm not going to go over them now. You can read into them later. I'm on a time crunch, sort of. Then we have Stellar Knight Deltaros. This card takes 3 level 4 monsters, but it can be nice. While this card has an Xyz material, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects when you summon a monster, and then once per turn you can attach a material, then target one card on the field, destroy it. And if this card is sent to the grave, you can special summon any Tellarknight from the deck. So actually a pretty solid card overall. Depends on the situation. You'd have to be in like a winning situation to really want to go into this, I feel like. Otherwise you're just going to Trevere. So, but it is still a solid card. There. Then Constellar Diamonds, Tellarknight Constellar Diamond. This is another card where you can rank up into, because this guy says during your main phase 2, you can XC summon this card using a Tellarknight XCs instead and give it its materials. When this card has Xyz material, neither player can send cards from deck to grave, and any card that returns from the graveyard to the hand is banished instead. Also, during either player's turn, when opponent's dark monster activates its effect, you can detach a material from this card, negate that effect, and destroy it. So, against certain decks, especially dark specific decks, this card could just negate. Your opponent can't send cards from deck to grave, right? That's what it said. Deck to grave, and they can't return cards from graveyard to hand. So against certain decks, this card has like a really, really strong matchup. It's also 2,700, you know, so keep that in mind. It's pretty easy to make in the deck. You might as well throw Rongo Miniad in your extra deck, because if you can make him with 4 or more materials, you just win the duel. Like, you really do. So that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. It was just once per turn, you just win the duel. So keep that in mind. I feel like it's just a might as well win condition to throw in there. Tsukuyomi just in there for draw power. Pretty basic. All your monsters are light, and that's the last one I have here. There's obviously a lot of wiggle room for the deck. I mean, this is going to be a trap-heavy deck mostly. A lot of your turns are just going to be normal summon a monster and set a bunch of back row. So keep that in mind. Solemns are really strong right now. Other traps, I mean, the other floodgates hurt you. Like the ones I listed earlier, they like hurt you. So you got to be careful if you try to play those. But it's up to you ultimately. And I guess I'm just going to leave it there, guys. Let me know what you think. Let me know where you think Tellarknights can go in the future. Let me know what kind of link monster they would need to really be put in like a playable position again, like a truly like at least roguish position. Because honestly, right now, like in a true competitive scene right now, this deck is not really that relevant. For locals levels, yeah, definitely can top locals, but outside of that, I don't really see it doing much. But let me know what you think, what kind of support you think the deck would need to be able to be put in that kind of position. And other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you like the video, subscribe for more. And if you want me to do different decks, let me know which ones you'd like me to do as well. So thanks for watching again, and have a great rest of your weekend, guys. Happy Saturday.